stepped aside. I don't know, maybe you can hear me over here. So what that is, that's the what they call a fish ladder. And the tide is down right now. It's gonna come all the way up to that green line. You see where it meets the rocky shore. It's gonna fill this whole cove like a big pool. All the way up to that dark line on those rocks. About a 12-foot tide change, average is like 10.5 foot. So it's going to fill partially the mouth of the ladder there. That spillway that's over there is going to be a major obstruction for any like ocean migrating fish like rare now but possible Atlantic salmon, alewives, blueback river herring, American eel, sea run brook trout, and I'm sure many others, sea smelts. So in other words, that's blocking their passage completely. That spillway to the right. And that structure there adds, gives them a conduit in theory. They don't always work right. This one does work. There's a series of boards in those diagonal slots that act like baffles to reduce the water flow rate. And then what they have on top here is actually a gate mechanism to allow for a census to be taken as they count the fish, the alewives, when they return for spawning. What they're going to do is come up out of the ocean, seawater here, and they're going to run up that ladder into the ponds, the lakes and ponds that are up above where this water's coming from, and they're going to spawn. And then they're going to return back down the ladder, the adults. They do not die like salmon once they spawn, so they're going to return back down the ladder, and they can do that as many as 7 years of reproductive cycle, 7 years in a row. So those fish provide forage for seals, birds, turtles, anything you can imagine. We've seen foxes get them out of the brook, everything you can imagine. And the other thing is that these alewives that go out deep out into the Gulf of Maine, out through the mouth of the harbor and way out offshore for the winter, and they bring rare nutrients from the Gulf of Maine, act like a biological conveyor belt to bring the nutrients up the fish ladder and up the watershed deep into the forest to provide some nutrients that the forest otherwise wouldn't have any way to get. And then they also consume some feed up in the freshwater shed while they're spawning, and when they return to the ocean, they bring some of those nutrients from the inland ponds out into the Gulf of Maine. So you can imagine it would take quite a biomass for that to be an effective mechanism, but that's part of how it works. So these fish are, and their opportunity is, such as this ladder, for them to get to the freshwater shed is very important. And things like even small dams like this, there's a direct impoundment to their ability to make upstream passage. And then when you get into larger systems that may have much greater fall, the fish don't always know to use the ladder. They generally probably come right down off that, and places like Union River is over an 80-foot vertical dam face with very little in the way for fish passage. So you could see how it would be quite a challenge for them. Beautiful evening here. Alright, well, I just figured I'd share a few thoughts about what was going on here, how these things work.